Today I will be discussing the gender pay gap in the United States, which is an issue that belaggers society from the psychological micro impacts to the macroeconomic effects. According to the AAUW, gender pay gap is a prevalent form of oppression, and these statistics report that women's pay was only 80% of that which men earned in 2016. Although opposition may cling to the notion that the gap shows narrowing trends since the 1970s, the 20% difference remains a strikingly disappointing reality. Furthermore, even the slow progression toward equal pay has stalled in recent years, raising even more concern of how long it will take to reach pay equity. Equal pay for equal work describes a legal principle that buttresses the protection against discrimination in pay. This principle was established by the federal employment laws such as the Equal Pay Act and within the Civil Rights Act. Together, these policies prohibit wage discrimination based on a variety of factors, including sex, according to Holmes and Corley at the CAP. So why are we refraining from adhering to our Constitution? Per Frye, Blau, Galton, and Kahn, a closer analysis of how these two concepts play out in the real world proves challenging because discrimination is difficult to uncover in the workplace. Regardless, about 14 to 20% of the accounted gap appears to be correlated with women spending less time in the labor force due to unpaid leave to provide care for family members, mainly being children. Research does show that families lack accessible, affordable childcare, creating hardships for mothers as primary caregivers to balance work and family. Childcare is more expensive than rent in 500 of 618 areas across the country, measured by Gold and Cook. Workers with children, therefore, must choose between leaving the labor force or taking unpaid time off. Thus, to reduce the pay gap in the United States, reform should address affordable child care as a priority for mothers in the workforce. Currently, the Office of Child Care supports low-income working families by providing access to affordable, high-quality early care and after-school programs through the Child Care Development Fund. In 2014, the passage of the Child Care and Development Block Grant Act reauthorized the law governing the CCDF, which is where we currently stand. Block grants allow flexibility within the states but lack in accountability as funds may be dispersed in areas not originally intended. Federal parameters of this grant are based on child age, special needs, parent engagement, and a family income under 85% of the state median income. However, more specific criteria set by each state function as the primary set of eligibility rules. For example, states determine their own requirements related to minimum hours of work or training and set income thresholds that are almost always lower than the federal. Between 2003 and 2012, the mean state threshold was 56% of the median. Thus, many women with incomes below the federal guidelines were not eligible in their states. Recent data shows that only 15% of children eligible for CCDF receive the subsidy, and states regularly have waiting lists for participants to receive funds. The Department of Health and Human Services conducted research showing that higher CCDF expenditures were related to a higher probability of employment among women. Higher copayments and lower state income eligibility thresholds were also associated with greater probability of employment. Based on this research, if current CCDF expenditures were tripled, estimates suggest that the number of women newly employed would be 652,000 among women below 85% of the state median threshold. Current legislative and executive measures are aimed at utilizing earned income tax credits to address this problem. I urge you to consider the beneficiaries of this. It is certainly not the low to median income families who are caught in this trap, as the tax benefits will ultimately reward the wealthy. Therefore, it appears that the proper recommendation for action in response to this problem is reform of the block grant by lowering state income eligibility thresholds, increasing expenditures, and establishing firm accountability protocol for state spending. Consider the multitude of effects this has on our people and our socioeconomic state, and support policy that addresses the majority whose quality of life is greatly impacted by this reform rather than the few who's not. Thank you.